Hey everybody, David Nuno here. TexAgs Rewind presented by Yeti, our good friends over there at Yeti. Nick, what was your favorite part of the show?
Probably Newy Scruggs, just hyping up Jim Schlossnagle, making me feel even better about the chances of a national championship in baseball here, and they were already pretty high.
Yeah, and the fact that he calls him Jimmy means they're tight.
Oh, yeah.
Right? That means they're tight, and I've known that for a while. So that was good to have Newy on the program. Appreciate him. OB, we kind of talked a little bit about everything, but more Jimbo specific because of the Touchdown Club appearance, or excuse me, the A&M Club, Brazos County Club appearance last night for Coaches Night. Really appreciate that. Recruiting Country with Ryan Brauninger. He was really good. Kendall Rogers talking a little Aggie baseball. He's got him in right now. That made me feel a little better, but they better win this weekend.
They'll be in. They'll be all right. They'll be all right.
Nick is optimistic, and so am I. It's TexAgs Rewind. 5 college football teams poised for a rebound in 2023 that I want to get into from Athlon Sports. The lessons that we learned last year are going to benefit us all, and he really likes the attitudes and competitiveness of his football team this spring. That's things that you hear, I think, from most coaches. But when you go 5-7, you better have that competitiveness in the spring. You better have some leadership. You better bring a certain level of business-like attitude when you come to work.
He said in the spring they never had a problem getting guys wanting to practice, that people were enthusiastic, energetic. And I think that happens once you've had a disappointing year.
Yep.
Especially if you have I hate to use the word that coaches up, but you have that character, that quality, that competitive quality that you need.
So Athlon Sports has 5 college football teams poised for a rebound in 2023.
Okay.
I'm just going to, before we go to their list, I'm just going to ask you, name a couple teams that you think could have a rebound year.
Okay.
And I think some of them were obvious.
Probably Oklahoma's there.
Oklahoma, yeah.
Yeah, A&M I would think is on there. Rebound year. I don't see it from Florida. I don't know if there's anyone else in the SEC that I'd mentioned. There probably is, but I'm just not thinking of them.
Well, I'll go through some of these for
Clemson?
you. Clemson's not listed as
maybe they still won a lot of games
9 or 10
because they're in the
games
ACC.
Yep. So here is the list. The first one listed is Auburn, believe it or not. And there are people very smitten on Auburn. Look, Hugh Freeze, pretty good offensive mind, got his quarterback last week in Peyton Thorne. They picked up the wide receiver. Is it Keon Coleman? Is that no, not Keon Coleman. Sorry, they picked up a pretty nice wide receiver.
Miami, I bet's on that list.
Who?
Miami
is on that list. But Auburn getting a lot of love recently. Yesterday on the show, who do we have? They were like, they're just the flavor of the week right now. I think it was maybe Tom Hart. They're the flavor of the week.
I kind of think so, too.
It is the SEC, and I would not be surprised if Auburn is much better than they were last year because Robbie Ashford, I thought, was horrendous.
Jim Schlossnagle is a Hall of Fame coach. I'll never, ever, ever forget when Eric Hyman introduced him as the head baseball coach at TCU, and Jimmy said in his press conference, I don't hunt, fish, or golf, and I won't hire anybody who does. And he came there with the attitude of TCU needs to get to the College World Series. That is the goal. Omaha is the goal. And David, you've been to press conference. You hear a lot of people say stuff. And let's say, well, what do people want to hear? How do you win the press conference? He did it and did it again and then did it again. I mean, he just set the standard here. So he should be inducted in the TCU Sports Hall of Fame, what he did across so many different conferences, from Conference USA to the Mountain West to the Big 12. I mean, the guy's just a winner. Now you see what he's doing in the SEC. So I think Aggie baseball here, once Jimmy really gets it rolling with his kids, they're going to see high caliber baseball. I mean, you saw it last year, but I mean, once it really gets embedded, his whole culture, when guys really get that understanding of what he wants, they're going to be great. Bottom line, I mean, I look forward to the day to watching my man in Omaha hoist that trophy as a College World Series champion. I think that would be fantastic. I'm rooting for him. Just texted him today.
Yeah.
That's my guy.
Yeah, again, like when these guys go into the portal, they're looking for playing time. You don't want to. Especially if you're late in your career, you're looking to go somewhere and increase your profile and probably get a shot at the NFL. And if you're early in your career and you're leaving, you've already burnt, like your clock has started.
Yeah.
So you don't want to go somewhere where there's not a clear path to you getting on the field. And that's not just, I mean, we're seeing that a lot in baseball already too.
If you want to be part of the conversation, you can text Bronny a question on the A&B text line, 979-693.
It's like it's been a while since we did a good Q&A on air, recruiting Q&A on air. There is some stuff that I will not divulge. I've got some notes that I'm working on.
Okay.
I will tell you that they have to do with Draylon Miller at Silsbee.
Okay.
I made a stop at Willis yesterday and just kind of checking in and seeing not only DJ Lagway, obviously, but they've got a ton of other guys. I've made stops all over the city of Houston. I've been doing, making phone calls while I'm on the road and talking to some sources about what's going to go on potentially in June. One interesting thing that's happened recently, I think, is that A&M has started to appear on a lot of top 4s, top 8s, top 6s as these kids in the 2024 recruiting cycle start to narrow their list. This is a really high time for kids to post top schools. They're cutting their list down and try to focus a little bit more going into the summer on a handful of schools or whatever it may be. And we've seen A&M make a lot of those lists for players that we haven't talked much about. So as more focused, I think this recruiting cycle has been more focused than it was last year. We're still trying to figure out what's happening kind of on the fringes. Like they've got their set guys that they're looking at each position, but who is the 4th DB they're looking at? Who is is there a tight end potentially in the mix? What about the 6th or 7th offensive lineman? Like just the fringe guys. We're still trying to piece together what that big board looks like, and I'm sure it's ever changing. For instance, yesterday, they had an offer go out at Conroe High to a defensive back who has reeled in, I think, 7 offers since the new year.
Hey, I want to ask you about Arkansas too, because look, nobody's surprised how good they are, but to be as good as they are at this point of the season, I think most people still had LSU pinned to be that number 1 team. What has Arkansas done to get it done?
Well, for everybody that says, oh, we've had injuries and, we've had more injuries and that's why we stink, there's Arkansas. And this is a team that, didn't even have probably its 2 best offensive players, and they played A&M. They swept the series. They haven't had Cody Frank pretty much the entire season. They haven't had Brady Tiger for about half the season. He's just now coming back to full strength. They haven't had their quarterback, aka their Friday starter, Jackson Wiggins, and yet they're number 2 in the country. It really is the best coaching job that Dave Van Horn has done. And honestly, he's got about like 10 or 12 of those where you're just like, how in the world is this team number 2 in the country? And that's kind of the way I look at this club. I mean, when they're healthy, I could see it. But, I mean, they're going to get Josenberger and Wegner back for the postseason fresh, and they're not even close to healthy. They're still without 3 or 4 arms. So what they've done this year is very remarkable when you consider how good this league is and what their record is.
I feel like we're talking about the University of Miami football team, but we're actually talking about Texas Tech baseball. The entire baseball team signs a 5-figure NIL deal with the Matador Club. Just how big is this for college baseball and for Texas Tech?
Yeah. Well, it's huge for college baseball in general. I mean, it kind of sets the bar on what some of these programs are going to do. And here is the way I look at this thing. And this is no disrespect for Texas Tech. Like, I give them tons of credit for doing this and being one of the first programs to do it. The thing is, if Texas Tech's giving 5 figures to every baseball player, imagine what some of these other schools that have, like A&M, that have massive budgets and have massive, donations, like what they're going to do with this thing. So I think from what I understand, I'm sure Bronny's talked about it, but from what I understand, A&M is going to be in just fine shape from an NIL standpoint. But I give Tech a lot of credit. 5 figures, that's 10 grand. Was it 10? Well, he said it's 10 grand per player per year. That's pretty good.
Nick, tell the people what to do.
Got to like, comment, subscribe, send to your friends. Go get a Yeti, of course. Look at this, by the way, David. That's cool. I didn't know they made water bottles like these.
Who gave that to you?
Probably my mom.
Oh.
But yeah, still awesome water bottle.
Look at these girls in the background.
I don't know. They're listening to Not Bad Bunny. I can tell you that.
They're listening to Bad Bunny.
Maybe.
All right.
Anyways, see ya.
See ya. Bye.